I punched a guy to save my girlfriend Emily at a party. The cops locked me up. Her family abandoned her. We met her mom to fix things. Then her dad's text revealed a dark secret. Last summer, my girlfriend Emily and I hit up this huge party in downtown Chicago. It was one of those annual bashes thrown by our friend Jake, always packed with loud music, cheap beer, and sweaty bodies crammed into a loft on Michigan Avenue. The vibe was electric, lights flashing, people laughing, the kind of night where you forget the world for a few hours. Emily looked stunning in her red dress, her laugh cutting through the noise as we danced. We'd been together 2 years, and moments like this reminded me why I loved her, her energy, her fire. A couple of hours in, we slipped away from the crowd, found a quiet storage room at the back, just some shelves and old boxes, perfect for stealing a moment alone. We were tangled up, kissing, her hands in my hair, my heart racing. It was just us, the party, a dull hum outside. I stepped out to hit the bathroom, promising I'd be back in 2 minutes. The hallway was dim, littered with cups, the air thick with smoke. I was gone maybe 5 minutes, tops. Then I heard it, a scream, Emily's scream. My stomach dropped. I sprinted back, shoving past a couple making out in the hall. I threw open the door to the storage room, and there she was, pinned against the wall. Some guy tall, drunk, reeking of whiskey had his hands on her, ignoring her as she shoved at his chest, her voice breaking. "Get off me!" she yelled, her eyes wide with panic. I didn't think. Rage took over, hot and blinding. I grabbed the guy by the shoulder, yanked him back, and swung. My fist connected with his jaw, a sickening crack. He stumbled, but I didn't stop. I hit him again and again, my knuckles burning. Emily was crying, pulling at my arm, begging me to stop. The guy hit the floor, out cold, blood trickling from his nose. I stood there, chest heaving, my hands shaking. Emily clung to me, sobbing, her dress torn at the shoulder. "We need to go," I said, my voice rough. I took her hand, and we pushed through the party, ignoring the stares. Jake, the host, was by the door. I told him what happened. My words clipped. He looked shaken, promised to handle it. We got out, the cool night air hitting us as we stumbled to my car. Emily was quiet, her face pale. I thought that was it, that we'd escaped the worst. The next morning, I woke to pounding on my apartment door in Lincoln Park. I opened it, still half asleep, and found 2 cops staring me down. "Ethan Carter?" one asked, his voice flat. I nodded, confused. Before I could say a word, they grabbed my arms, twisted them behind my back, and slapped on handcuffs. The metal bit into my wrists. "You're under arrest for aggravated assault," the other cop said. "What the hell?" I shouted, my heart pounding. "Assault? I was protecting my girlfriend!" I tried to explain Emily's scream, the guy attacking her, how I had no choice, but they didn't listen. Their faces were stone, like I was just another thug. They shoved me into the squad car, the neighbors peeking out their windows. Emily ran out, her eyes red, yelling at the cops to let me go. They ignored her too. At the station, I sat in a cold interrogation room, the fluorescent lights buzzing. I told my story again, every detail, the party, the storage room, the guy's hands on Emily. The detective just scribbled notes, barely looking at me. "The victim says you attacked him unprovoked," he said, tossing a photo of the guy on the table. His face was swollen, one eye shut. His friends back his story. "Victim?" I snapped, my voice rising. "He was assaulting my girlfriend. Ask Emily, she'll tell you." But they didn't call her in. They didn't care. The guy's friends, some rich kids from the north side, had painted me as the aggressor, said I was drunk, looking for a fight. I wasn't drunk, I'd had 1 beer all night, but the truth didn't matter. By the end of the day, I was charged, my bail set at $10,000. Emily scraped together the money, her face tight with worry when she got me out. I thought we'd fight this, clear my name, but the system had other plans. The guy's friends stuck to their story, and Jake, the one witness who could have helped, was moving to London for a job. He couldn't testify. The court date loomed, and I felt the walls closing in. Emily held my hand, promising we'd get through it, but deep down, I was scared, not just of jail, but of what this would do to us. The cell door slammed shut, and the sound echoed in my skull. Cook County Jail was a maze of gray concrete and rusted bars, the air heavy with sweat and despair. I was Ethan Carter, 26, stuck in a 6x8 box for protecting Emily. 7 months, the judge said. Aggravated assault. The word justice tasted like ash in my mouth. Days bled into each other. Wake up at 5 a.m., choke down gray oatmeal, stare at the same cracked wall. The routine was a slow poison, numbing my brain. I tried to keep my head straight, but the monotony was brutal. The library was my only escape, but the books were junk-torn pages, faded ink. I'd read half a thriller, missing the ending, and it felt like my life. No closure, just questions. Emily was my anchor, the one thing keeping me from sinking. I'd lie on my bunk, picturing her smile, her red dress from the party, but doubt crept in like damp rot. Would she wait? Could she handle this? I hadn't just lost my freedom. I'd lost my job at the auto shop, my savings, my whole damn life. What could I offer her now? A felon with nothing but regrets? Her first visit came a month in. I shuffled into the visitation room, the fluorescent lights harsh on my eyes. There she was, behind the scratched glass, her brown hair pulled back, her face pale. My heart lifted, like the sun breaking through Chicago's winter fog. I grabbed the phone, my hands clammy. "You came," I said, my voice catching. "Of course," she said, but her smile was tight, like it hurt to make. We talked about small stuff, her new job at a coffee shop in Wicker Park, a stray cat she'd fed, but something was off. Her words came fast, tripping over each other, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. Her hands fidgeted, twisting the hem of her sweater. I felt a knot in my gut. "You okay?" I asked, leaning closer to the glass. She nodded. "Too quick. Just stressed. Work's been a lot." I didn't buy it. Emily was tough, the kind of woman who'd stare down a storm. This wasn't about work. Talk to me. What's going on?" "It's nothing, Ethan. Really." Her voice was sharp, like she was shutting a door. I wanted to push, but the guard barked, "5 minutes," and the moment slipped away. She promised to come back next week, and I clung to that like a lifeline. She visited every Saturday, rain or shine. Each time, I searched her face for clues. She'd talk about her day, her boss, the weather, anything but what was eating her. Her eyes darted, like she was hiding something heavy. I'd ask, gentle at first, then harder. "What's wrong? You're not yourself." She'd brush it off, say she was just tired, overwhelmed, but I knew better. There was a wall between us, invisible but solid, and it grew with every visit. In my cell, I'd replay our talks, picking at every word. Was she scared? Ashamed? Did she blame me for what happened? The guy at the party, his hands on her, it haunted me. I'd protected her, but at what cost? 7 months in this hellhole, and now she was slipping away. I felt powerless, trapped behind bars while the woman I loved carried a burden she wouldn't share. One night, I sat on my bunk, a smuggled pencil in hand, scratching words on a napkin. "Dear M," I wrote, then stopped. What could I say? Sorry I'm here? Sorry I can't fix this? I crumpled it, tossed it under the bunk. The guy in the next cell was snoring, the sound grating on my nerves. I lay back, staring at the ceiling, the cracks like a map of my mistakes. As the months dragged on, I leaned on Emily's visits to survive. They were my only link to the outside, to the life I'd had. But each time she left, I felt emptier. Her distance wasn't just physical. Something was eating at her, and she wouldn't let me in. I told myself it was the stress of the trial, the money she'd spent on my bail. But deep down, I feared it was more. Was she doubting us? Doubting me? By month 6, I was a ghost of myself. My hands, once strong from wrenching engines, felt weak. My reflection in the scratched metal mirror showed a stranger, hollow eyes, stubble, a man I didn't recognize. Emily's visits kept me going, but they also broke me. I needed her to be honest, to tell me what was wrong. But every time I pushed, she pulled back, her silence louder than any words. The night before my release, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bunk, the air thick with anticipation. Tomorrow, I'd be free. I'd see Emily, hold her, start over. But the knot in my gut wouldn't loosen. Whatever she was hiding, it was big, and I wasn't sure I was ready to hear it. The gate buzzed open, and I stepped out of Cook County Jail into the crisp Chicago morning. The sun hit my face, brighter than I remembered, the air sharp with promise. 7 months of gray walls were behind me. I slung my backpack over my shoulder, my heart pounding. Emily's car, a beat-up blue Honda, pulled up along the curb in the shadow of the facility. She stepped out, her brown hair catching the light, her smile hesitant but real. I ran to her, my boots crunching on the gravel, and pulled her into my arms. She laughed, soft and shaky, as I kissed her, her lips, her forehead, her cheeks. "I missed you so much," I whispered, my voice thick. "I missed you too, Ethan," she said, her hands gripping my jacket. For a moment, it was just us, the world fading away. I wanted to freeze time, to hold her and never let go. We climbed into the car, her behind the wheel, me still buzzing from freedom. The city stretched out ahead, all glass and steel, a life I could reclaim. "I'm starving," I said, half laughing. Jail food was trash, made my stomach churn. "Can we swing by your mom's place? I'm dying for some of her cornbread." Emily's mom, Susan, lived in a cozy house in Oak Park, and her cooking was legendary. Growing up, I never had home-cooked meals. My family was a mess, barely speaking to me. Susan's kitchen was the closest I'd ever come to that warmth. Emily's hands tightened on the wheel. "How about we grab something quick? There's a diner on the way." Her voice was light, but it didn't match her eyes. They flicked to the road, avoiding me. I frowned. "A diner? I haven't had a real meal in months. Your mom's cornbread is calling my name." I grinned, trying to keep it playful, but the air felt heavy. "I'll cook for you," she said, too fast. "At my place. I've got stuff for pasta." I leaned back, studying her. Something was wrong. She was dodging, same as she had in the visitation room. What's going on? Why can't we go to your mom's?" She sighed, her shoulders slumping. "Everything's fine, Ethan. Just let's go to my place, okay?" "No." My voice was sharper than I meant. "You've been off for months. Talk to me. Why are you acting like this?" She pulled into a gas station lot, the engine idling. Her hands dropped to her lap, and she stared out the windshield. "We need to talk," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Those words hit like a punch. Nothing good ever followed them. "Talk about what?" I asked, my stomach twisting. She took a deep breath, her eyes glistening. "My family. They made me choose between them and you." I froze. "What?" "After you got arrested," she said, her words spilling out. "They said you were violent, dangerous. The court ruled I was lying about what happened at the party. They believed the judge, not me." Her voice broke, and a tear slid down her cheek. "They told me if I stayed with you, I was out. No family, no support, nothing." I stared at her, my mind reeling. "You told them the truth, right? About that guy? What he did to you?" "I did," she said, her voice raw. "Over and over. But they said I was covering for you, that you started the fight because you were drunk. They wouldn't listen." She wiped her face, her hands shaking. I chose you, Ethan. I walked away from them. My chest tightened. All those visits, her quick words, her dodged glances, it wasn't just stress. She'd been alone, cut off, carrying this. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, my voice softer now. You were in jail, she said, looking at me finally. Her eyes were red, desperate. You had enough to deal with. I didn't want you worrying about me, not when you couldn't do anything. I reached for her hand, her fingers cold in mine. You shouldn't have gone through that alone. I'm here now. We'll figure it out. But even as I said it, I felt the weight of her words. Her family, her mom, her dad, the people she loved had turned their backs on her because of me, because I'd protected her. She nodded, but her face was still tight, like she was holding back more. I wanted to push, to ask what else she wasn't saying, but she looked so fragile, like one wrong word would break her. Let's go home, I said, squeezing her hand. We'll talk more there. She started the car, and we drove toward her apartment in Wicker Park. The city blurred past, but my mind was stuck on her words. Her family had abandoned her, and I hadn't known. I'd been locked away, useless, while she fought to keep us together. I swore to myself I'd make it right, no matter what it took. But deep down, I wondered if I could fix this, or if I'd already cost her too much. A few months after I got out, Emily and I were sprawled on her apartment floor in Wicker Park, playing Scrabble. It was her family's favorite game, the kind they'd play until dawn back when things were good. The board was a mess of words: quilt, zest, hope, and I was losing bad. Emily laid down memory for a triple score, but her face didn't light up like it usually did. Her eyes were distant, her fingers tracing the wooden tiles. I nudged her foot with mine. You okay, Em? I'm getting crushed here, and you're not even gloating. She forced a smile, but it cracked. A tear slipped down her cheek, glinting in the lamplight. I miss them, Ethan. Her voice was small, like it hurt to say. Playing this, it's like they're here, but they're not. My heart sank. I slid closer, pulling her into my arms. She buried her face in my chest, her shoulders shaking. You're enough for me, she whispered, but I've never gone this long without them. It's like a piece of me is gone. I held her tighter, my jaw clenched. Her family, Susan, her mom, and Tom, her dad, had cut her off because of me, because they believed I was some violent thug. I hated that they'd hurt her, that they'd made her choose. Have you thought about reaching out? I asked, careful. Maybe they'd listen now. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. I don't know if they'd even talk to me. They think I lied about that night. They think you're dangerous. Her voice trembled, anger mixing with pain. I want them to believe me, Ethan, but the trust it's shattered. You won't know unless you try, I said, brushing her hair from her face. Maybe start small. A call, a coffee, something. She nodded, slow, like she was testing the idea. I'd like that, but I'm scared. Her eyes met mine, raw and searching. I kissed her forehead, promising myself I'd help her through this. For her, I'd do anything. The next morning, I grabbed my phone and dialed Susan's number. My palms were sweaty, my pulse loud in my ears. It rang twice, then clicked. Hello? Her voice was sharp, guarded. Susan, it's Ethan, I said, keeping my tone even. Silence. Then a click. She hung up. I cursed under my breath, but I wasn't giving up. I called back. Susan, please, just 30 seconds. Make it quick, she snapped. I took a breath. Emily's been hurting. She misses you, misses her family. She wants to rebuild things, to talk. She's been through hell, and I know you love her. Can you meet her? For her sake? Susan laughed, cold. You're still in her life? You're the reason she's in this mess. A crazy, abusive man like you, I'm scared to be in the same room. Her words stung, but I swallowed my anger. This wasn't about me. I don't have to be there, I said. This is for Emily. We both want her happy. You know that. She was quiet for a long moment. I miss my daughter, she said finally, her voice softer. Fine, I'll meet her, but only because I want her back in my life. What about a park? I suggested. Millennium Park. Broad daylight. I can stay away if you want. No, she said, firm. I'll meet you both. Public place, witnesses. You wouldn't understand why that matters. Her jab cut deep, but I let it go. Deal, I said. Next Saturday noon, I'll bring lunch. She agreed, and I hung up, my hands shaking. I ran to Emily's bedroom, where she was sipping coffee, her hair a messy bun. Your mom's in Millennium Park next week. Her eyes widened, coffee cup frozen midair. Really? Her voice was a mix of hope and panic. What did she say? She misses you, I said, sitting beside her. She's still mad at me, but she wants to see you. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just be you. She bit her lip, nodding. What if she doesn't believe me? What if it's like before? Then you'll still have me, I said, squeezing her hand. But I think she'll listen. She sounded like she's hurting too. The week crawled by. Emily was a wreck, barely sleeping, her eyes glued to her phone like she expected Susan to cancel. Saturday morning, I packed sandwiches and lemonade, trying to keep things light. Emily sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window as we drove to Millennium Park. Her hands twisted in her lap, her face pale. I don't know what to say, she whispered. It'll come, I said, glancing at her. Just tell her how you feel. She's your mom. She'll hear you. We pulled into the lot, the park buzzing with tourists and joggers. I carried the cooler, my stomach in knots. Emily walked beside me, her steps slow, like she was marching to a firing squad. Whatever happens, I said, stopping to face her. You're strong. You've got this. She nodded, her eyes glassy. Thanks, Ethan. We headed to a picnic table near the bean, the silver sculpture glinting in the sun. Susan was already there, her arms crossed, her face tight. This was it. No turning back. The picnic table at Millennium Park felt like a battlefield. Susan sat across from us, her arms crossed, her eyes eyes flicking between Emily and me. The Chicago sun was high, glinting off the bean nearby, but the air between us was heavy, thick, with unspoken words. I set out the sandwiches, turkey, Swiss, some lemonade in plastic cups, hoping food might ease the tension. Emily sat beside me, her hands clenched in her lap, her face pale. I gave her a small nod, trying to say without words, "You've got this." Susan broke the silence, her voice sharp. "So what really happened that night, Ethan? I want the truth." I took a breath, keeping my tone steady. "It was Jake's summer bash, same one we go to every year in Chicago. Emily and I were in a back room just talking. I skipped the part about us making out. Susan didn't need that image. I stepped out to the bathroom. When I came back, this guy was on her, trying to force himself. She was screaming, pushing him off. I pulled him away, hit him hard. He went down. We left after telling Jake, but the next day, cops showed up. The guy's friends lied, said I attacked him for no reason." Susan's eyes narrowed, but she turned to Emily. "Is that true?" Emily's voice trembled, but she met her mom's gaze. "Yes, Mom. I swear. That guy wouldn't stop. Ethan saved me. I don't know what would have happened if he hadn't been there." Her eyes filled with tears, her hands shaking as she gripped the table. "I told you this before, but you didn't believe me. You believed the judge, the guy's friends, everyone but me." Susan's face softened, just a fraction, but she stayed quiet. I jumped in, my voice firm. "I'm not saying I'm a saint. I hit him hard, maybe too hard, but I wasn't drunk, and I wasn't looking for a fight. I was protecting her." Emily leaned forward, her voice rising. "Mom, the guy you should be scared of is the one from that night. He didn't take no for an answer." Ethan stopped him. "Why can't you see that?" A tear slid down her cheek, and she swiped it away, her jaw tight. The table went still. A breeze rustled the napkins, and a kid laughed somewhere in the park, but it felt like we were in a bubble, the world holding its breath. Susan stared at Emily, her lips parting. Then her eyes glistened, and she pressed a hand to her mouth. "Oh, my baby," she whispered, her voice breaking. "My poor baby." Emily froze, like she hadn't expected that. Susan reached across the table, but Emily flinched, pulling back. Susan's hand hovered, then dropped. "I'm so sorry," Susan said, tears spilling now. "I should have listened. I let those people, those liars, tell me what to think. I failed you, Emily. I'm ashamed I wasn't there when you needed me." I felt a lump in my throat. Susan turned to me, her voice shaky. "Ethan, I'm sorry too. I called you dangerous, but I was wrong. I see how much you love her." She looked back at Emily, her hands trembling. "I cut you off, let you struggle alone. I can't undo that, but I want to make it right. Can you forgive me?" Emily was crying now, her face buried in her hands. I wrapped an arm around her, my chest tight. "It's up to you, Em," I said softly. "Whatever you decide, I'm here." She lifted her head, her eyes red but steady. "I want to try, Mom," she said, her voice raw. "But it's hard. You didn't believe me. You left me alone for months. I need time." Susan nodded, wiping her face. "I understand. I'll wait as long as it takes. I just want my daughter back." She reached out again, slower this time, and Emily let her touch her hand. It was small, but it was a start. We sat there, the food untouched, talking through the pain. Susan admitted she'd been scared, swayed by the court's ruling and gossip from her friends. Emily told her how she'd scraped by, working double shifts, feeling like she'd lost everything. I stayed quiet, letting them find their way. By the time we packed up, the sun was lower, the park quieter. Susan hugged Emily, and this time, Emily hugged back, just for a moment. On the drive home, Emily was silent, her eyes on the city lights. "You okay?" I asked, glancing at her. She nodded, a small smile breaking through. "It's a start. Thanks for making this happen, Ethan." "Always," I said, squeezing her hand. "We didn't fix everything that day, but we cracked the door open. I knew it'd take time, maybe years, for Emily to trust her family again. But seeing her smile, even a little, made it worth it."